I hear a little more? A little more, a little more, a little more? That's good. What is up, Singapore? Thank you for the warm intro. All right, a lot of things I want to cover today. Feel free to sit down unless you want to stand, you do you. I flew from Malaysia this morning and I was thinking about what I wanted to speak about with this incredible crowd, and there was a lot of different things running through my mind. But I broke them down into a couple places. I think one of the things that I'm very fearful of is hypocrisy. I think it really sucks when people talk out of both sides of their mouth, and I think one of the things that when I was growing up in the business world that became apparent to me is, why do people take advice from individuals who've never done something, right? I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. Now, it's a very interesting thing in my mind because I used to be very 100% about this, which is don't listen to anybody who's never done something. But then I realized that some of the best coaches in sports history never played the game, but understood how to give advice. So that kind of took a step back. But the thing that I realized was the reason that my initial reaction was don't listen to anybody who's never done it was that for me, when I communicate, I'm incapable of being the kind of coach for a football team if I never played it. I would never be good at that. Had I played baseball or football or highlight or whatever it may be, I would have then been able to give advice. But if not, I couldn't watch film or study the game and give advice. Going through this self-awareness over the last 20 years has allowed me to think about why over the last 2 or 3 years my content continues to resonate even more than ever. It's because I'm getting even more narrow in what I talk about. One of my favorite comments on my YouTube channel or my podcast or my Instagram or LinkedIn is when somebody says, "GaryVee, you're getting boring, you say the same shit." I go, that's the point. If you really understand the process, I think there's way too many people talking about stuff they don't understand or because they think it will do well for them. I only want to talk about the stuff that I understand because it's the only way I can bring any value. And I'm fine if somebody feels like they got it. I think, how many people here have watched my vlog? Raise your hand. Thank you. So I think you guys know on the vlog, every 20, 30 episodes, 50 episodes, I get weird and look at the camera and say, what the fuck are you still watching this for? And I think, when I think of myself in the personalities that speak or write books or put content, I feel like I'm the reverse. I want people to hear me and then for free and then go on and do their thing and win, instead of keeping people in my funnel and monetize them through courses or masterminds or other things. I think that's important, and I'll tell you why. I think that it's super important to watch who you take advice from. I always am fascinated when people are like, "Gary, I've been watching your business videos," like a friend, forget about, like somebody I've known for 25 years. They're like, "Gary, I've been watching your stuff lately, but my uncle tells me I should do this." And the first question I always ask is, and the person's asking a business question, and I ask them, "Well, tell me about your uncle." And they're like, "Well, he's a gym teacher at our high school." I'm like, "Well, if you want to be a gym teacher, your uncle is a tremendous person to listen to. But if you want to build a business, I think I'm better at building businesses than your uncle." And so the reason I start this talk this way is because I think I have a little bit of a curveball for people that have been following me for a little while. I think a lot of you know that one of the things I fear the most is I don't want to be a motivational speaker. Like, I don't like that at all. I mean it. I don't like it at all because I don't think of myself that way. But over the last year and a half, the reason I put out content that may be more rah-rah or things of that nature is because I've realized, my God, my greatest strength, the thing that I realize I can give best advice on, is I'm the byproduct of very good parenting, very good environment, which means I didn't grow up with much, so I'm not entitled. Very tried and true 20 years of business at this point, based on work ethic and based on giving value to the customer over anything else. And I realized that if you're here on a beautiful Saturday in the summer for this talk, that we have to start in the strategy of where your head's at, and then I can talk to you about the fact, and this is just true, there's a reason, I don't know if you guys know this, but VaynerMedia is opening an office in Singapore in the first quarter of next year, right? So I'm gonna be here a lot more going forward over the next 5 years, so if you see me in a restaurant, don't just stare at me, come over and say hello. But I think that the thing that's on my mind in this market is mindset. I can give you the reasons we're opening an office in Singapore, because in Southeast Asia, my marketing strategies of buying Facebook ads, running ads with KOLs and giving them as much money as possible, doing podcast and LinkedIn content works better in Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia than it does in America or Europe. So all the propaganda that I push around Facebook advertising and Instagram and all that, I promise you, whether you're a lawyer or you have an app startup or you want to sell t-shirts, I don't understand why anyone's confused. The only practical advice I have for you right now, practical, black and white, is run more ads on social media. And if you're going to run more ads on social media to do whatever you're trying to sell, your course, your sneakers, your real estate, whatever you do, there's one part that breaks in running more ads on social media. Do you know how to put a good picture or video or written word in the ad? The variable of running great ads is the creative itself. And I think too many people don't respect the art enough, they just respect the math. But from a practical standpoint, everybody here should be running a lot more social media. Nobody here is taking it serious enough. I'll tell you why. I take it more serious than my own religion, and I don't take it serious enough. So if I'm up here and I don't take it serious enough, there is nobody here that is taking how big of an opportunity this is serious enough. I will go back to tactics in a minute, but let me tell you why I started my talk on what am I best at, and that should be my advice. What I'm best at is knowing that the far majority of people in this room right now have not achieved the success or happiness they're looking for, mainly on the back of the fact that they value their mother or father's opinion too much. The thing that I understand about life, and then that matters in business, is you either listen to your own voice or you listen to somebody else's. The thing that people need to understand more than anything is what is driving their ambition. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you trying to scratch? What itch are you trying to scratch? Are you trying to be successful to prove to people that said you wouldn't? Are you trying to be successful because you love the process? Are you doing it because you want to buy something fancy to show people that you're successful? Why do you do what you're doing? And most of all, for who? What happened to me through very good parenting is I play for myself. How many people saw Rocky IV, the one in Russia? Raise your hands, I want to just get a sense. Raise it high if you saw that movie. Good amount. In Rocky IV, he fights a Russian guy, Rocky. The Russian guy talks about the pressure of the whole Soviet Union wanting him to beat Rocky, and at one point he cracks and tells the Russian government and all the fans, fuck you, I'm not fighting for you, I'm fighting for me. I've always thought about that scene my whole life, and I didn't know why until about 2 or 3 years ago, which I realized, oh my God, I'm living for me. I'm playing this game for me. not for anybody else, and everybody else is playing for somebody else. And that was unbelievably liberating, and I'll be very honest with you, I was very grateful for that. I think a lot of people in this room have to go home tonight and ask themselves who they're playing for. Making your parents proud is usually the first step to disaster. I mean it. I understand that it's an interesting angle to talk about this. It's great to want to make your parents proud, but not at the expense of your happiness. And so I've become unbelievably fascinated with the mindset of why people do stuff and why am I able to work 17 hours a day. I'm able to work 17 hours a day because I love it. Nobody works 17 hours a day because of any other thing because they love it. People, all the people that try to teach you how to get rich with the least amount of work, they love the money. They love the money. People love the money. A lot of people here are here to figure out the secret for the money. You love the money, you value the money. I don't value the money, I value the game. My game is how good am I at this? I value the admiration. I value the admiration. That's a tough thing to say a little bit because it seems kind of shallow, but it's my truth. I was so overloved by my mother that when I went into the real world, I still wanted the love, and I basically manifested with my DNA and my environment in a way that there's only one reason that I'm giving you more value than most people. It's because I want your admiration. And the only way to get real admiration is to give the most. Simple as that. It's not super complicated. So I'm spending a lot of time trying to figure out what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck am I doing in Singapore on Saturday right now? And I realize you better be doing the same thing, because when you start figuring out that shit, everything starts becoming a lot easier. And listen, one of the biggest reasons